Greetings, class. My name is Tricia Miller, and today I'm going to be talking about the National Labor Relations Act, NLRA, and unions. The NLRA was put into place in 1935, and the purpose of this act was to allow employees to create unions. And this was found in Cherry and Jacob, 2019, page 233. Unions are a way for employees to bargain for better work conditions and pay. The NLRA allows individuals or employees to the right to collectively bargain without fear of being punished. And that is also Cherry and Jacob, 2019, page 233. Under this act, the employer and union are required to let employees decide whether to unionize or not without pressure. There are many questions that the nurse should ask and get answered prior to deciding to support or oppose unionization. And these, there are 4 main questions that should be asked, and these are all from Cherry and Jacob, 2019, page 237. So these questions are: the first one, will joining a union improve nursing and patient care? That's an important one. 2, should nurses that act as supervisors at times, should they be considered part of management, or should they be protected by unions? Number 3, will nurses be willing to strike because they'll be concerned about leaving patients without caregivers? 4, will nursing unions affect other healthcare workers in the hospital, like physical therapy, pharmacy, other departments? How will it affect them? There are pros and cons of unionization in healthcare. There are many advantages with unionization that I found. Unions can improve the work environment by creating safe nurse-to-patient ratios, ensuring that employees have time to take lunches and breaks, and making the workplace safe. By making these and many other improvements in the workplace, unions actually reduce stress, and this is a quote, reduce stress, burnout, depression, and compassion fatigue for nurses. And that is from Contreras and Esposito, 2020, page 29. There are also disadvantages to unionization. Hospitals with unions have a much lower patient satisfaction rating, and that was in Cherry and Jacob, 2019, page 237. I think maybe this is because nurses feel more free to speak about what they're not happy about. Another disadvantage is that all the negotiations with management and the employer have to go through a union representative. There is a process and a contract that they have to deal with. Something new that I learned while researching this subject is that management is not protected by unions, and that was in Cherry and Jacob, 2019, page 239. Charge nurses are considered management, even though in my position in the hospital, they're definitely not management. So if a union would organize at the hospital that I'm at, I would be left out. In general, though, I feel that unions are looking out for the best interests of employees and patients. A group of nurses asked their union representative to address the issue of poor relations with physicians and physicians not responding to urgent patient needs. The advantage of using a union representative to negotiate is that they are a neutral party. The union rep is speaking as one unified voice for nursing when trying to resolve the problem. The disadvantage may be that the union rep may not be willing to compromise or be creative with the solution to the problem. It may also be difficult negotiating with physicians because they do not have a union representative. Communication between nurses and their management team and the organization's executive leaders is important, whether the nurses are working in a union environment or not. Nurses should communicate frequently with their manager. It is important to actively listen and be completely honest when communicating. It helps if the management team is approachable and willing to communicate about issues that arise. There are many methods of communication that can be used. Some of the methods of communication that can be used are face-to-face meetings, email, virtual meetings, which we've been using a lot of, and the telephone. A nurse should not be concerned about being terminated from her position because of her involvement in union organizing activities. That's the end of the sentence, sorry. In 1974, an amendment was made to the NLRA to allow for healthcare workers to be able to unionize. And that was in Cherry and Jacob, 2019, page 233. This amendment said that workers need to give a 10-day notice to the hospital before striking so that hospitals can be prepared. And that is also in Cherry Jacob, 2019, page 233. Nurses can contact the union for help with problems at the work environment and request unionization. Or union organizers may show up at a hospital on their own to see if they can gain support. In conclusion, the National Labor Relations Act made it possible for nurses to unionize if they choose to. There are pros and cons to unionization in healthcare, and they should be carefully considered before deciding. Thank you for your time. Thanks, Classify.